friends, welcome back. Thanks for joining me today. This is Jenny from Polly's Paper Studio. I am happy to announce that it is beautiful outside today. It is bright and sunny and warm, and I am in the mood for fast and easy greeting cards. I want to get a lot done, and then I want to get back outside and enjoy the beautiful weather. So we're creating this card today, and it has a handcrafted flower embellishment that I've made from a regular die. It takes up less space than a traditional shaped flower, so it's much easier to mail, and I've made this fully from scraps that were sitting on my desk. So join me for this and we'll make this card together. Let's make that flower first. I've got my die. This is from Cherryland Designs. You do not need this specific die as long as you have a petal flower that you can get into nice and tight into the center, so that when you get done gluing and cutting, your flower shape will look more like ephemera than a die cut. And this particular one cut out four. I'm only gonna need 3 for this flower, but that left me with 1 to demonstrate with. So I cut this from some scrap paper that was on my desk, and I picked the yellow, and it has a very small compact pattern so that it doesn't look too busy. I've got this here is the shape I wind up with, and what I want to do is adhere it to some cardstock and then trim it back out, leaving a bit of a border. So I think the best way to get this down is just with a good old glue stick. I can't believe I had one of these in my stash still. I've not used it in so long. Go ahead and get a good coating on the back, but don't get it too messy, because then you're going to have to chase after that when you get it stuck down. I'm just putting it on some white thick cardstock. So this is 65-pound weight. I wouldn't go any thinner because it might not hold up to the dimension that you're adding, and then I wouldn't go any thicker because it would be difficult to cut out. So once you get that attached, I would maybe put a clear block on it and let it set up so that you know it is well adhered. Then you kind of come in with your scissors and just using your eye, cut very carefully around each petal so that you're leaving yourself with a border. Now I cut that out ahead of time because I didn't bring my glasses down, but I'll show you what I get is 2 of the flowers. I left a fairly sizable border, and that kind of helps to bulk up the bottom layer so that it looks like a very well layered embellishment. And then for the top layer, I left a little bit less of the white border around so that it didn't look so clunky in the middle. It did have a definite petal shape. I put on some of these spacers. These are the scrapbook adhesive spacers that I pick up from Really Reasonable Ribbon, and I like that they are not quite as thick and bulky. So I'm going to use 2 to attach these pieces, and I want the bottom flower to just sit flat on my project. So I'll take off my backing here, it's right in the center, and I'll offset this top as if you were making a shaped flower. That way you can enjoy all of the petals and the details. So you can see how that would look a little bit chunky in the middle. That's why I chose to cut my top layer with a thinner border, and I'll offset this as well. And now you can see that we have added a lot of detail, but less dimension than the shaped flower. I'll just go ahead and finish off that center because we have so much foam, it would be difficult to punch through that to add a stamen. But let's put on a little button instead, and because this reminded me of a sunflower, I picked this kind of brown button. I put a little twine through it so I can stick it down with glue. This is my ephemera style sunflower, and I will use that to embellish my card. I'm just working with an A2 size card today, and I'm literally using pieces that were on my desk from other projects this week, and I thought they worked really well together. And I want this to be a quick card, like not anything you have to do a huge amount of planning for, but if you've used your patterns on another card and you already know they go together, why not keep your scraps together and use it that way? So I've got this piece of wood grain here, and it has a really cool kind of texture to it. I have cut it, instead of my normal border with white showing around for the card base, I have it all the way to the edges. So this is 5.5 by 4.25, the full size of that A2 size card. And I chose that specific measurement because my next layer is a beautiful die cut scalloped edge rectangle. This comes from Gina Marie Design, and it is going to go all the way to the edge. So I know I don't have room for extra borders, so this is going to be just filling that whole entire space. But because we left that beautiful wood grain pattern behind, that will peek through and give us a lot of nice detail. So I'm picking this yellow cardstock, which is the back of a Graphic 45 pattern. It just had the perfect tone of vintagey yellow, and I measured this and cut it to fit exactly in the middle of those kind of eyelet scallops. So that is acting as a doily for this card. Then I'll top it with this plaid, and I've used this on a couple different projects already this week, and this is the last little bit that I have from this sheet. But I think that it just looks so sweet and country inspired along with that scalloped edge and wood grain pattern. So what I want to do is bring in my next element, and this is another Cherylin design. This is an envelope that is kind of tiny, but it works great for cards. It is cutting out the whole shape, and then it scores the center, so it's very easy to fold. And I just cut mine from craft paper. I've also added just a little bit of adhesive here so that I can close it up. I want to be able to tuck something inside, so I don't want to accidentally seal this up fully. But once you bring in those sides, you can use the adhesive to just seal up the envelope. Now it's a fully functioning tiny envelope, and I put just flat adhesive on the back because remember, we're trying to reduce some of the bulk so that this is a little bit more mailable. And so I'm just going to attach this right here. It fits closer to the top because I want my flower to show and be a large accent on the bottom. This sweet tag was part of a cut apart sheet. It was already a tag, but I chose to cut it out with a tag die that had a stitched edge so that it would be a little bit smaller. The original size didn't fit well into that envelope, and so I just clipped it out with that die. It was too long and it was not going to fit well onto the card, so I repositioned die and cut it out smaller, and I'm a little bit surprised I was able to get that lined right up. But take your time if you want to try and get a different size out of your dies, because you can probably get it lined up close enough that no one would know. And so this fits better now into this pocket, and I still get that nice stitch detail on the edge. So I used my crocodile and put an eyelet in the top, and then also a little bit of twine going through. This was from Really Reasonable Ribbon. Then I just attached it on the back, and then I put foam spacers. So this is really the only area that we're going to build dimension on the card base itself. And so I just want to tuck that in here until I'm just getting it right to where you can still easily see this sentiment, and we're not losing too much of the top of that envelope, because really that's what the card is about, is that it's a tiny tag in an envelope. I took a couple of die cut greenery pieces, so this is also from Cherylin Design. If you want to pick up a good all-purpose basic leaf die, I would get one that had multiple sizes, so you can use them both on one arrangement or make them smaller or larger. And then sometimes you have to consider that you'll have to remove some of the leaves to fit your arrangement properly on your layered cards. So I'm just going to attach these with a little bit of hot glue to the flower instead of the card base, because I want these to fall exactly where I want them on the flower. Then I can move that whole unit around till I get it exactly where I want. I think this would work really well with just any sentiment on that tag. If you had a stamp, that would be great, because then you could duplicate them and make a big batch of them. So if you wanted to do birthday or thinking of you, that would be a perfect way to get many of the same card with a stamped sentiment, instead of relying on a cut apart sheet where you're going to be limited to how many you can get out of it. So that would be a great way to batch make cards and then really dig into your scraps and use up what is on your desk. Also, if you want to work with some kiddos, you could probably do all the cutting and they can help you assemble and pick out different patterns. So that might be a fun family project. So now you see how I have attached these leaves, and the flower itself is just really perfectly coordinating to that plaid in the back, that check pattern. And I'm gonna attach it here. I want to be very careful not to overlap the edge. So that's all for my card today, created with the tiny envelope and tag and our handmade embellishment flower with a die. So if you enjoyed this project, make sure you give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. And if you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe. As always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.